Nobody told me feedback was information. I thought it was proof, right? About 15 years ago, I was drawn into an assignment with zero preparation, no mentor, no resources, unfamiliar terrain, being dyslexic and frightened, and it showed. Hi, I am Nene, and I help people become the person their goals require. And everything that I share here is something that I have lived. And if you've ever taken feedback and let it become a verdict on you, then this video is for you today. So what happened was I was still new to the interpreting world as a sign language interpreter. I was just like, this is you're safe to practice, go and do your thing, right? So you don't know what you don't know. Like now, compared to how it is now, I guess we can get to talk about that. But back then, I had no idea, no concept of who I was interpreting for. All I knew was that it was an outpatient appointment at a location in a hospital, and yeah, go show up. Like I did know that how it what's what showed up, and then realized that it was actually for a particular clinic. Outpatient 7 was just technically them just using the space or whatever. Found out like what the appointment was about and who it was for, and realizing that the person that I'll be interpreting for was another more experienced colleague and her partner, as they came in to discuss about the newly diagnosed thing about their child and stuff. And I did not so the thought of going into a space, not only am I now interpreting for one party, this other person knows that, like I was gonna say, the SHIT word, like they know their stuff. And like they're down, but they're more speaking to the doctor, and I'm interpreting what's been said, and in between she would check in. But knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm in a space, she knows, like she's well experienced, and I'm here, I'm not sure of like what we even talking about, what department is, what are you guys talking, like I have no concept of the whole 9 yards. Like the training that I had and everything that I had up to then just went off the, like, it was now kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be found out that I don't know what I'm doing. I like you're not feeling, and like, okay, now you've done the training, you're safe to practice. Let's go with the flow. But still, I did my best trying to be as professional as I could. But looking back now in hindsight, I could see how I was leaking energy. I was leaking, like how frightened I was. I probably was showing in some way, or maybe like, and how I was approaching. Maybe you could just, I bet I was shining that light very strongly, and did the job. We said our goodbyes, and then I think a week or so, I don't know how soon, even no, it wasn't that long. It was actually quite quickly. I got the notification, I got an email to say that an official complaint, it wasn't to the main body, it was just to the agency I worked for, that I didn't know what I was doing, that I wasn't capable, that I shouldn't be doing that. Like, and honestly, it felt like that was on me. He felt like, oh, now the justification, like, my goodness, I'm such an imposter, that they now, we have gone home, had a conversation. Yeah, this is what was talked about, this was happening and stuff like that. Didn't you hear? Didn't you know? And God knows what was discussed. And like, yes, this official email was sent that I did not interpret properly. I did not like the whole 9 yards. And it felt so personal. It felt like, this is proof that I don't know what I am doing. This is proof that I like, what are you doing? Kind of like that. And for the longest time, it made me like hold back, made me now on urge as well. The other things I was leaking energy in as well in other situations. But this one was just so kind of like, this is someone who is in the profession. I mean, they were so ingrained with the doctors, but they're saying I'm no good. And they're just saying, like, I've not forgotten I think it was a case of, I don't know what it was. I, I couldn't remember the content of like what was said in that email, or even how to even find that email, because I've moved on from that agency now. But still, it was so impactful that it affected me so much. Like, now, my goodness, now there is evidence. There are people that know how not so good I am. How, like, the whole 9 yards, because then I didn't even trust me, let alone now somebody else doesn't even trust me too. So now this is like, Nene, like, what the heck are you doing on this thing then? Like, just let's go, move on, right? That was very impactful. I mean, there's been other situations, but this one, you just had a thing. But this is the deal. Around that same time when I was doing my own training, I had other, like, you have your core people, you do certain, you go to the same training centers, or you do some special training with and stuff like that. You meet them here and there and then stuff. And then it got to a while, like, I haven't seen someone like in the community or like different spaces and stuff like that. And I then did this one job a couple of years later from that event. And I met this person. But I met them in a capacity that they weren't an interpreter. They were more like a support worker, or they were there to accompany the deaf person to come to the thing. And we kind of like, it was such like in an event situation. So we got talking and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, like how's things going on for you and stuff like that? And did she just disclose that she's no longer an interpreter? She's now she feels more at peace at what she's doing, just supporting deaf people in this capacity, that interpreting for deaf people, because of how much she felt the weight of the whole thing on her, and how somebody made this complaint and really affected her, and that she's not doing no more. So guess what? She left the profession. She left it for something similar to what I had experienced. That someone had said something in that moment, which to a degree had some justification to it. And but she no. But this is the thing. Some feedback can have a knock-on effect. Can really, like, sometimes you take on a feedback, right? And you're like, okay, I know what I need to do to improve, or like how I can change or whatever. But sometimes, because of how we now see ourselves, the way the feedback can be given or the way something can be said to us, we now take it as if we're talking about the whole of us, not that situation, the scenario. So the cost of this thing sometimes can make someone leave, can make someone stop showing up, can make someone not do what they do because someone said, or someone has just dished your thing. And we keep forgetting, like, this is a side note, it's nothing, it just popped in my head, like, every master was once a disaster. We always tend to compare. For me, in that situation, I compared my day 1 to somebody else's day 20. This person, this partner, have the experience. They're in the interpreting field, right? They're doing their thing. So I'm just making sure my thing's charging so that we don't get cut off. Okay, we're back on. Yeah. They so in that moment, I was comparing myself and I was on edge. And what's gonna happen? What you focus on, your energy will flow into that. And then you start messing up. And then you start doing silly things. Right? So there is a huge cost that can happen. And I've been able to witness someone that happened to. in my situation, I persevered. I kind of like started doing the work on myself and started like realizing that sometimes, not sometimes, most times, information is data that we get to use to course correct, to improve ourselves, to take what we need and leave the rest, to really like be anchored in ourselves, to know what we get to use. Because to me, then it felt like it was me, it was my identity, it was who I am. Like I was just no good person. Like, what the heck am I still doing in this profession? If I had stuck on and just followed through with that feedback and how it made me feel then. I mean, the funny thing, I've had worse feedback, but that one, for some reason, had this emotional, significant event in me that made it like a core thing for me. And being able to do that work and understanding that the information in that moment is not the verdict of who I am. Some factors were in place, the nerves played a part, the unfamiliarity of the situation, of the genre, the whole thing had that. My internal struggle of how I felt myself that nobody could see played a part in what was going on, can affect the performance of on the day without it being the identity, is what I really want us to come across. So when we get all this feedback and information, it is not about who you are, it's about the situation. So when you get feedback, you just have to then realize what's the factors in there. Was I tired beforehand? Did I have a hard booking? Like, you have to like dissect and like figure out, okay, was I not, what is it that making it feel like I am this worst person ever, this can never be again, this is the, you know, that can also be a huge impact, you know? So a single moment, right, where you didn't perform at your best, right? It's not a verdict on who you are. It is not. Definitely not a verdict on who you are. It is just data. And I have now fully come to understand that. That somebody else's opinion of you doesn't automatically now becomes your identity. What someone thinks about you, it's not. It is only part of that situation that makes, do you know what I mean? It is not on you. So the reason why this came up to mind for me is like after that event that happened, you know, things have like, you know, you've moved on, you know, I'm now in a much different space. I now even support other people in that feel that same way that I felt and like all that situation. And I met this, I've met that other colleague, I think once or twice, maybe once in a social setting, another one maybe in like an interpreting, but nothing that I would say we've ever co-work or whatever. But the deaf partner that I've interpreted for, over the years, we've had other scenarios and situations where I've like had to interpret for them. And you know, after a while, you still had that ache feeling. And once I started doing the work and started feeling fine about, you know, this was just, that's not me. That's just like I've so improved from that now. Like how I'm very intentional about like when I go and do a job to know where I'm interpreting for the department, who's going to be there, like getting all the relevant information that needs to make sure that the job's done correctly. Now, like, you know, with practice and rehearsal and everything, you get better. And I have seen this person multiple times over the years and more frequently recently. And the thought keeps popping in my head like, only if they knew like what they did and said had such a huge impact on me. You know, like those, like, sure, you know, like, because now, like me, I've like forgotten about it. Like I've moved on from it. It's like was never about me or like or with them. Or, like, if I even mention it to him, he might not even remember that he made this complaint 15 years ago. Like I still remember, right? We always remember, But now the meaning I give that is no longer hanging on me as it did back then. But it was just a curious thought that, like, oh my goodness, if you knew how impactful that was on me and how that really made me feel, it was just a thing. Like, when like things like that happen, the impact and seeing this person was just like, oh, because now it's like we're on a different level, and like they're even commending and like just appreciating the interpreting. And I think that's what like brought it on, is like, oh yeah, like, it was more, we finished the booking and we're just talking about, we're even talking about family and stuff, and like they didn't know, I don't know, maybe they just, I still look the same, but anyway. And it was just like, oh, thank you so much for that. It was really like gave a really like flourishing thank you feedback of like how this whole situation was given. I was like, hmm, how the tables have turned, how like it is so different. Like, they're now giving such glorious compliment, and 15 years or so ago it was like, get out of this field whole feeling. And yeah, it was just a but I didn't say anything because it's just like, what's it gonna say? Oh, it was just like, it's it's under the carpet now, it's gone. But it's just a thought, the feeling of, don't let feedback become your identity. Take it as data. Take it as that information. Don't it's nothing. My colleague now, she's no longer doing this, even though she enjoys it, but she just said she wants peace of mind, thinking there is no other way to get peace of mind than now doing something that you're just doing it because you feel this is the only option and the only way you can do stuff, because you're avoiding what this side of things can bring. So as feedback for you ever felt like a verdict on who you are, rather than just receiving information about a moment? Like, has that been your truth as well? Like, and how did you find your way through it? Like, I really want us to have that conversations down in the comment sections, like, because yeah, tell me already. And if you've gotten to this point, like the don't forget to like the video, because that helps, and subscribe if you haven't done so as well, because we do this every single day. And yeah, just remember that, honestly, self-trust and that validation for self, and knowing that we get to rewire how those things work. Well, I can talk about this we're talking about this in an upcoming video, like what did I actually do to then move past that, to in that space. So yeah, your voice matters, and it is your time to use it. Bye for now.